it is. It's the red zone time. We're here making sure that we work together, bringing all these tools from different parts of the United States, making sure that we become better version of ourselves, because that's what we're in. It. We're stronger together, and it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in. We all have an opportunity with this free PD to make sure that we learn and get stronger. Because you know what? We become stronger, and most importantly, our kids become stronger. Josh Tobat, proud principal of MPA Memorial Pathway Academy in Garland ISD, Garland, USA, here ready to rock and roll, making sure that we're all rowing in the same direction. What do you think about that, Dean?
I'll tell you what, thanks for tossing a baton. Dean Packard, principal at Charlton Middle School, one of the co-founders of Unlock the Middle, and Thursday nights is all about getting a little bit better and bringing all these leaders across the country just to talk about topics that we think are very important to education and across for everybody's overall growth. So again, we're happy to be here. We got a great cast tonight. So I'm going to kick it directly to my right and Rita Wirtz, who's been on the show before. Rita, a little background about yourself, where you're from. And again, I want to say thank you for joining us again.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's my fourth appearance with you guys.
I think so too. We're going to make you a co-host pretty soon.
I don't know about that, but that would be an honor. I'm Rita Wirtz. I've been an educator. Looking at you guys, I've been an educator. I don't want to say how many years, but I think we're at about 52 right now. So anyway, just a few. I've taught all levels, and reading is my thing. I was a school principal, 3 through 6. And like I said, I've taught all levels. I was a curriculum consultant for Sacramento County Office of Education. I've done penal education, working with teachers as a program evaluator at Title I. Oh my goodness, I'm an author. I have 3 books right now up on Amazon, 2 literacy, 1 my memoir. I'm a very active blogger. I'm a featured blogger for BAM Internet Radio. I now have 184 blogs with them. And I'm on a lot of podcasts. I have a mini podcast, etc. And that's all I really need to say. I've been at this a long time. And I'm just as excited about teaching now as I was that very first day. So with all that's going on and all the noise in the world, it's a pleasure to be with you to talk about leadership and what we can do to make a better, more loving world. Thank you again for inviting me.
We're going to give you professional teaching status after that leading. We're going to give it to you automatically. Coleman, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us in the background.
Hey, thank you for the invite. My name is Coleman Brewman. I'm the proud director of career and technical education in Garland ISD, where I get to work with Josh pretty frequently. This is my 18th year in the business, but my very first podcast. So excited for the invite. So I appreciate you guys including me. I've done similar to Rita. I've been a little bit of everywhere. I've been an elementary principal, one of our big Texas 6A high schools. I was a principal at a career tech center, and I was a middle school assistant principal. So that's what I've done for the last 10 years. Love what I do with kids, but the career tech work has really filled my bucket. And I'm a huge believer in us being the change for economic mobility for kids and making sure they get to a living wage.
Love it. Great stuff.
Love it.
Yeah, absolutely. Dorothy, welcome to the show.
Oh,
Hi, Dot.
Dot. Call me Dot. Okay.
Oh, God, sorry. And disclaimer, she's new to Twitter, everybody.
Yes, I am new to this. All righty. I'm Dot Jeter. I was in education, and I'm not going to say was. I'm still in education, but I was 33 years, 26 years as an administrator. I was a principal of elementary building, a junior high building, and a middle school, because it's 2 separate things. I'm a Golden Apple recipient for leadership. What else can I say? I haven't written any books, but you know what? I have a book right up here. I just have to get it on paper. Okay. I'm married. I have 4 grandchildren, a daughter and a son. My daughter's in education. I have 5 4-legged children. They're all behind me, supporting me here on the floor. Okay. This is my second podcast. I was on with Principal Kafele in March, which was it was awesome. And so let's see, what else do you need to know from me? Oh, presently, I am a principal mentor for new principals, which I love tremendously. I love helping others to be successful. I love seeing people go beyond me. go further than where I went. I love helping people to get ahead. I love it. So that's what I'm presently doing now. I retired in 2017 and started working again in August of 2017. So I officially never did retire. So I'm on Zoom all day long because the Governor State University, which I work through them, they still don't want us going into the building because of safety issues with the COVID and everything. So everything is Zoom, which I love, because when you go into the buildings during the day, there's so much interference. There's always somebody knocking the door. This happened, that happened. So now we can Zoom in the evenings, on the weekends. So I love it. I love it. So I'm Zooming all day, and I'm going to try to keep my eyes open. Okay. All righty. Oh, and I live here in the suburban area of Chicago in Calumet City.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. There's a lot there, and I'm glad you came out of retirement, because I think you're doing a good thing for a lot of people.
I'm glad I came out too right now with all this stuff going on.
Well, what are you going to do when you grow up? Think about it for a second. You can't retire. You're just starting.
Right. Yes.
Take it over, Josh.
So with all this experience that we have here on the table, you know what? We all had that little seed that inspired us as leaders, as classroom teachers. And since we have the little baby of the group, Coleman, who is your role model in education?
So I'm going to go general to specific, guys. I got a very special high school principal that mentored me, but generally speaking, anyone I have as a role model in education is somebody that can call out a kid and get them in the right direction and actually say it to them. And so my high school principal called me out my senior year. Her name is Dr. Marlene Hammerly. She led the high school I got to lead. I got to be very unique and follow her. But what she did for me as a senior, she met with me and said, if you ever become a teacher, I'll hire you. Get your degree, go get it. And so I spent 2 years in another district and was able to call her up and say, hey, I'm ready to come home. And she was a woman of her word. And that for a high school principal of a school that had 2,500 kids to be able to pull me out of the crowd and say, hey, you mean something. That's what makes the difference. And it's anybody that does that kind of thing is a role model to me.
Thank you, Coleman. Dorothy. Dot.
Thank you. Because I can't say my principals I used to work for, because I had bad experiences with my previous principals. So I can't say that. So I'm just going to say someone who inspires me right now has got to be Principal Kafele. It's one, because I'm on his every Saturday. And Jawanza Kanjufu, and one person that really inspired me was Dr. Asa Hiller, which he's now deceased right now. But I would say Principal Kafele, because he keeps me on my toes. Yes.
Thank you, Dot. Rita.
All I can say is there's two right here. And the reason that I picked you right away is not only are you active, very, very active principals, but you have both instilled such love in such school culture that is admirable. And then to take on all these shows that you do. As I said earlier, I used to watch every single one and comment, and I can't even watch them all anymore. I can't get to them. So my two role models are right here. Thank you for what you do. The amount of time that these two spend organizing and doing it just, I don't know how you do it. Having been a principal, I don't know how you're doing it, but thank you from my heart.
Yes.
That's very kind.
Yeah. When do you sleep, Josh?
He's sending postcards.
He doesn't. I work with.
He doesn't, because he's forever doing stuff. I just wonder.
Between 10:30 and 3:30. That's my hours right there.
Hey, what? You're going to ask me that question again every Thursday. You ask me that same question. Hey, you want me to change my person?
Someone new, brother. You got to come up with someone new.
All right, throw me a curveball. Go ahead.
Who's your inspiration? Talk to me.
My inspiration? I've had many along the way. You know what? And I'll tell you, it's not always the people that have helped guide me where I've gotten. It's a lot of the kids. It's a lot of the people I've worked with, because you know what? There have been people that I've worked with that I knew had to grow, had to have their capacity built, and they've done it. And quite frankly, when I stand back and watch that happen, that's about leaving seeds for the legacy that when I'm gone. And again, my job is not to not to bask in the glory of what I can do as a leader.
Right.
It's really to celebrate the people around me, the kids around me, and try to really tell that story. And again, you want to talk about inspiring, when you can step back and just let that all just kind of show itself, that just kind of lights a fire for me. It just does.
Yeah. Planting your
How about you,
seeds.
Josh? Let's take it downtown.
You know what? I've said it a couple of times, so I just want to introduce. I think a lot of the things that I learned was not having it myself. So what I always believe that my ultimate goal is in the chair that I sit in right now, is that whenever a team member gets into the car and they put their key into their ignition, that they don't say, "I have to go to work."
Yeah.
I wanted to say, "I get to go to work."
Yeah.
When parents drop off their kids at our home, I want to make sure that they feel safe, that they're in a home. From one house to another house, that those kids feel and are treated like if they were those teachers, that administrative team, that family treats everybody as a family. And if I feel that the majority, you know what? I cannot. We all know this. We cannot please everybody. We know that. It's a
That's
fact.
true.
But I'm going to let you know one thing. If the majority of the people in the climate and the culture feel happy going to your home,
Right.
then you know what? You've done an awesome job, because I'm going to let you know one thing. It is what it is. I mean to cast no dispersions on anybody, but I never had a great teacher ever in my life, ever in my life. And I wanted to make sure that I lived within the parameters, that within my sphere of influence, I was able to provide at least one, if not more people to greet kids, and so that adults also love each other, respect each other the best that I can. Because again, we know they're always not going to get along together.
Right.
Yeah, Josh, thanks for sharing that. And again, that becomes ultimately our overall goal in leadership. So again, I think we shared that collectively across the board. Let's switch gears for a second. Let's talk about post-COVID, the good, the bad, the ugly. And we all have some stories here. We want to talk about deregulation or dysregulation with kids. Trying to get we'll call it cognitive. Not therapy, but cognitive latitude with kids. It's so hard because they've missed time, and when you embed rigor, it becomes very difficult. So I want to kick it down to you first, Dot, and let's talk about some of the good first, and then some of the struggles coming out of this post-COVID scenario.
Well, one thing I can say is that COVID, the pandemic, did cause a lot of negative things. People died, people got sick, etc. But the good thing about it, we learned a lot. We learned different ways to communicate, different ways to educate. And so there's some pluses. Zooming, we never thought about Zooming when we were, in the classroom and teaching kids or even communicating. So you're able to reach out more. We have learned technology-wise, we can do a lot of things. But however, the bad side about it is that, you have to understand that if a child went out during a pandemic in 4th grade, they came back 2 years later in 6th grade.
Yep.
They're still on the 4th grade level, mentally, everything. Yep. And the state, I don't know about you guys' state, but here, because now I'm getting ready to get on the roll, they expect everything to back to normal. It's not. You weren't about test scores. You weren't about test scores. The kids are not mentally ready. Teachers, they're trying to get back into the swing. That's why so many teachers now are leaving the field. I know a teacher right now that used to work under my leadership, gave a 2-week notice. She said she can't take it anymore because they're expecting her to perform miracles. You weren't about the state, and see what happens. The state put the pressure on the superintendents. Superintendents put the pressure on the principals. Principal put the pressure on the teachers. Teachers put the pressure on the students, and so on. And you expect everyone to change this around within a day. It's not going to happen. It's not. And so that's the bad side. That it caused a lot of chaos. And you have to deal with these students with social emotional learning right now. It's a lot. It's a lot. And like I said, the higher ups are expecting too much. The principals that I'm mentoring now, they're just I'm trying to get them. I'm trying to give them support to survive.
Yeah.
To survive, because they're worrying about tests. Oh, we got to get the test. They want us the scores to be this. They wanted that. Really? I'm glad I'm retired because I probably would be getting fired because I was like, heck with this, But I do understand we live in a society where test scores mean a lot. I have this mentality, and just like I used to tell my teachers, anybody can go to school and get A's and B's, pass a test, but that doesn't mean you're going to be competent in position. I don't care if that's a teacher's position, principal's position, superintendent. You can pass the test. Oh, I was A's and B's. I got a whatever, but that doesn't mean you're going to be competent in that position.
Right.
So it's a lot. It's a lot that's going on right now, and I really, I have sympathy for the people in education right now. The educational system is really messed up.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time to get it back to quote unquote normal.
That's a 3 to 5 year plan. And it really is minimally. And I try to say that to people all the time. But I'm glad you brought that up, Dodd. And thank you very much, because that's going to be consistent across every state in the United States. Because you know what? We're all for high stakes. There's no doubt about it. But we all got to get back into the game and get back to the game where we were in 2019, 2020, which is really difficult to do. It's hard. It's absolutely hard. And it takes time. And you got to have patience and compassion and empathy. And you got to work with people to get them there. I'm a big proponent of not there yet, but we're going to work to get there. Nobody fails. We're not there yet. Think about that.
The district that I retire from, I just read an article. The superintendent is going to keep the district on a hybrid because they have a lack of teachers.
Oh, no.
There's a lack of subs. They're thinking about going back into that, having that option. Because if they don't have teachers in the classroom, they can't combine 2 or 3 classrooms into one classroom. You're going to burn that teacher out.
Right.
So he's thinking about continue with a hybrid method where a teacher can be at home and teach 2 or 3 classes at one time from Zooming, I guess, virtual. So they're trying to find different ways how they can meet the needs of what they're going through. Because like I said, it's a lack of subs. I have a principal that spends half the day in the classroom because they don't have a teacher, but yet the principal is responsible for evaluating the teachers.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
So it's a hot mess right now. That's all I can say.
The system is cracked and it's leaking. It's leaking right now. And there's got to be something to plug those holes. Rita, kick it up to you.
For many years, I taught at the university level all the administration courses on one side and then all the reading courses. And during those years, I never experienced anything like this with all the leadership that I've done over the years and helped others. This pandemic really is way out there. So I've been writing all year, blogs and on EdChat, wherever I've been talking about the fallacy of learning loss and my concern that kids who came back in some cases were acting in aggressive ways, let's say feral ways in some ways. So you've got kids that didn't want to be back at school, but they did. They wanted to see friends, but they weren't ready to do academics. And they were behind, but behind what? What are we catching up to? So having been a program evaluator for a number of years, also Title I program evaluator, I've been aghast. And I'm not going to get into the NAEP scores either, because none of these scores are reliable, none of them. And none of them are valid either. And this is not the night where I'm going to go into my evaluator hat role. But it's ludicrous to think that principals are going to be able to hold down the fort as a manager, first of all. But the main thing that the principal always is leadership, and to be an active leader, to be hanging out in the classrooms, to be co-teaching, to be setting up what we need to do to move forward, challenging times, extraordinary opportunities. We need to get off of the standardized testing kick entirely. If policymakers were asked to be in a classroom for one day, they couldn't do it. I know they couldn't do it.
Right.
And they don't know what's going on. So we're following the money trail. I was appalled to see testing back this year. None of it's accurate, none of it's valid, none of it's reliable, none of it's going to help teachers because it's not formative and it's not giving diagnostic information they need. So the testing thing is a huge thing. Second thing would be as a leader that you obviously have to remove stuff off teachers' plates. Why teachers are leaving? Because they're exhausted. They were exhausted before school started. So we need to provide real leadership by getting rid of stuff, extra meetings, extra assignments, anything extra that can go, we need to go. That's probably getting into your next question. So I'm going to stop there saying that for all the leaders who are watching this, I love you and I'm here for you. And I understand what you're doing and what you're going through. So please stay. But when I say that, the caveat is you've got to figure out how you have a life also, because principals already were working 24/7, just like these, racing around. And to build that culture, you need time to do it. So stuff has to go. And we're really looking at the reimagination of our public school system in America. Now, we've talked about it, but nobody had time to even see what that might look like or do the steps toward what I've spoken about before on this show, the notion of the utopian school and what has to happen. So we're getting closer. At least we have the idea now that not everybody's going to go. And for those who can stay, we need to make sure that we make it an appealing place by helping everybody, getting them everything that they think they need to teach. And that means resources, money to do things. And I'm so not happy with Donors Choose and all these programs because teachers don't have stuff to work with. So there's a lot of factors. It's not just one thing, but it all goes back to what is the notion of what quality leadership can look like right now.
Thank you, Rita. Appreciate that. So,
Coleman, that's me. I said my own name. I'm going to go a little bit more. I'm going to go a little bit more practical with the kids on the good side.
Yeah.
A lot of people have been celebrating or really worried about how they're acting in big groups in the classrooms, how they're responding to teachers, the negative notions. But I had the unique challenge or unique perspective of leading a school with a really powerful environment at our Career Tech Center when I was last principal. And kids were hungry for engaging environments, truly hands-on experiences, ready to get back together to problem solve. And they came back to us in droves. And during the year where we were all closed, like no one was coming back, we challenged the system and we brought the kids back in February. We were the only people in the DFW Metroplex that brought kids back that early. And we only missed about 60 kids. So out of 1,400, they came back and they wanted to. And so that drive is still there with kids. And kind of going on to using that to talk about the bad side, I might be pushing up a little bit against some thinking here, but I don't want to think about the new normal anymore. There was some great stuff we were doing. I'm glad, Dean, you said something about 2019. Like in Garland ISD, we were changing direction and being bold and really focusing on college and career readiness and doing some big stuff. And then what this has done is let us forget what we did well. And so that idea of new normal kind of is pervasive and an excuse to get out of what we do great. And the other part for the leaders, Rita, you were making me think of some stuff about how the role of the leadership has changed. I think really about how quick we have to respond to things now. Like there's an emergency happening. Hey, everybody drop what you're doing, get on a Zoom. And right when you're in the middle of a powerful moment with a kid or in the middle of a PLC where you're actually having a rich conversation with a group of people to change kids' lives, the expectation is stop, drop, respond. And when we were doing that from our homes and leading schools and sending out directives about what we got to do by this time in that hybrid environment, it was crazy. But it's unfortunately a leftover. And it's a lot of time. I know this may be old school thinking, but I'm a walk around principal. When I led a building, I wanted to be visible. I wanted to see a kid. I wanted to say hi. I wanted to dig in what they had in front of them, but I can't do that from the little box in the Zoom meeting.
It's fair.
Yeah.
Now, the principal is the phantom. The old notion was principal as manager or management by walking around, that as we called it. We all know that in order to be the real school leader, we have to be with teachers and kids in the classrooms and on the school buses and in the cafeteria. We cannot be in our office, and situations mitigate toward pushing principals back into their office. And when they're in office, they're not out really leading the school by modeling, obviously. And you have to be in classrooms.
I love that you said that, because the greatest thing that I do, and I do this surprisingly, is I sit in the back of a bus. We have 18 buses that roll out, and I periodically pick them. I'm on there before the kids go, and I go, oh, the bus
Right.
driver is
I
like giving
did
you a
that
high
too.
five.
Yes.
Come on more often, Mr. Packard, because I'll tell you what, they're never this quiet.
Yes.
I love that. That's awesome.
Well, it's fun, but I tell you what, I remember those days, and I don't ever want to have to do them if I don't have to do it again.
I always did a lot of home visits. Have always been my thing, and this has been a challenging time to do home visits as well. But it's all about the kids. I mean, I agree with you guys. The whole thing is, what can we do to help teachers do what they're doing best with kids? And moving forward, I agree with you, Coleman. What was working before, we need to make sure we don't lose that and make it even stronger. But we do have stuff that we can get rid of. At least that's my opinion. We have stuff we can get off plates. Mainly the way we've done staff development. I used to do a lot of it myself. The shot and drop stuff. Teachers are walking with their feet. Teachers really need more autonomy, whether it's about staff development or the curriculum or the assessment. And that's where we need to move forward in my opinion.
Josh.
So now that we've last year we lived the hangover year from COVID because we were painful.
Right.
And so we've had a semester of a regular. We're not at the party. We're not hungover. We're at a sense of a new stability, right? We're still facing a lot of the adversity from the hangover year. What can we do right now with a semester under our belt? Rita with your blogs, Dot with you mentoring, Coleman from the district level. What do we need to prepare? If there's a brand new assistant principal in Iowa or in Nebraska right now that's checking that out, from your experience, what do we need to change and pivot for spring semester of 2023? What do you think, Coleman?
Yeah, I'm bored.
Man, you're putting me on the spot, because it's going to be so unique to every campus. It's especially for a new assistant principal, their perspective is all wrapped up in what we're doing right now, and so they don't know that part where you are able to manage the office side plus the instructional side. I guess with the stress, my always go-to help any new principal is to lead with calmness, go in there with some peace, because that's the only thing you can control. And so I guess it's the old adage of when the principal sneezes, the whole building catches a cold. And so when the leader really embraces that and learns how I project myself is what the rest of the campus and the district will project, that can really center them and help them move forward.
You model everything. And also got to throw in there the sense of humor. I know Dean does some funny things. You guys all do funny things, but we need to do a lot more humorous things. School is the best celebration that there ever was. The schoolhouse is the best learning center in town. And that's the idea that we want to get, and that parents are our partners. So that's another piece of the pie, is how we work with our parents and caregivers right now. And I'm not going to get into book bans and censorship and all these other great areas of negation. I've been certainly writing and talking about that long enough. I'm looking at the positivity as an optimist, a lifelong optimist. I'm looking at how we can shed our light as we are in our campus and with parents, with caregivers. And that empathy and that compassion has to be there right now, especially with all the noise and distractions out there. We need to stay focused on what our purpose is, our why we're here, and who we are, and why we became educators in the first place. We don't want to lose that.
I tell the principals that I mentor is to stay positive. Look for the good in everything. I don't care how bad it is, there's something good in it. And I tell them we are our own experience. In other words, what we experience in life or in our position, we bring it on ourselves because of what we're thinking.
Yes.
Because what you think about, you bring about. So if
Right.
you leave your home and you walk into your building and go, oh, I've got to do this, and I mean, everything is negative, that's exactly what you're going to get. And I know it sounds, it's easily said than done, but I did that. I had to change my mindset. I went through challenges. And when I started looking at my challenges as a means of growth,
Right.
things changed for me. So I told him, I said, this is all challenging for you, but it's preparing you for your next level. But you have to change your way of thinking. You can't look at everything in a negative way. You can't walk into your door thinking negative because, again, you bring on your own experiences. So everything during the day is going to be negative. And I just told him, I said, try it. Just go into your building thinking positive, no matter what's going on, who ticked you off that morning before you got there, whatever. Go in with
That's
a
right.
positive attitude and look for the best.
Mhm.
And then you will receive the best. Because again, you are your own experiences. So I try to push them to do that because they're going through a lot. Like I said, lack of teachers, subs, and they're doing things. They can't be a building leader because they're in the classroom being a teacher, but yet they're being held responsible to do the evaluations of the teachers, and which is not fair on the teachers because it's not a true evaluation going there one time. Is it fair? No.
Valid
Well,
points.
yeah, I don't think that we should have had any teachers evaluated last year, this year anyway. I think it really needed to be
You'd be surprised. Some districts are still doing it. I mean,
Oh,
they
I
had an
know.
option to stay, but it's
Yeah.
We're back
Yeah.
at it. We're back at it full bore, and it's just part
Yeah.
of our job and what we do. But you know what it leads me to my next question. We all as leaders, we're front door to back door. Everything that goes is because of who we are and what we do, and we cultivate that. We work hard to cultivate a positive, cultural rich learning environment. But now I go to leadership. Leadership is a shared opportunity for everybody in the building. It's not just the principal. A teacher is a leader. A student is a leader. We talk about expectations behind leadership and what that means. We should all be speaking the same language. Now, the question I'm going to throw out to you guys, in the most successful buildings, what do you look for in that leader that promotes this type of thought process? And why don't we start off with you, Rita? What does that look like?
Well, teachers are our leaders. They're teacher leaders. Everybody in the school is a teacher, first of all.
Yes.
Everybody in the school, whether we're looking at a custodian or someone working in food services, every single person is a leader and it's shared leadership. It works really well at schools when we have that shared leadership really working together in terms of even what kind of meetings we have. Instead of principals running meetings, teachers can run needed meetings. And as long as the COVID situation is copacetic, teachers really learn from the teacher down the hall. And anytime we can get teachers co-teaching or watching each other and talking about what we've done, that's a win. Anytime we can skip a meeting and instead be in a teacher's classroom with that teacher doing a gallery walk and talking about their classroom or leading a lesson, that's a win. So we have to rethink what leadership really is. And to me, it's always been shared leadership. From the time I gave up running my first meeting after I screwed up, well, the second one after I screwed up the first one, I knew that I didn't need to run those meetings, and we didn't need to have most of those meetings they've been having anyway. So when you change how the school is run, and that means who's doing what, meetings, who's signing up, who wants to volunteer, who can't, how do we take care of one another, and how do we give teachers their prep time, which they've lost to cover classes? It goes on and on. These are all very definable and actionable items that we can see. And when you step onto a campus, you have a pretty darn good notion of what that culture is like for the whole school, just from the feeling that you get when you step on the campus. When kids have a vested interest in their school, then we don't worry about TikTok challenges and other things because they truly love their school. And I believe that all kids really do want to be at school, but they're getting burned out by teachers being told they have to catch them up and do all the lessons to catch them up. The learning loss really created a lot of issues, in my opinion. And I do want to add, I forgot to mention, I am here in Eugene, Oregon. Things are very different than my years in California as an educator. It's very different here. It's very different wherever we are. So when you look at what things are like where you are, that's where you have to start with what is it and where have we been and where can we go. But that's where we need to refine it, is about where can we go next, because we can't catch up to that normal. That normal didn't work anyway. That normal needed to go 10 years ago. We've been reinventing schools and reading programs since way before I was in a classroom at 20 years old. This is old stuff. Pendulum swinging back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. So now you've got another math program. Teachers have to learn a new reading program, go to academies. And the bottom line is programs come and go, skills remain the same. So I think we have to take a serious look uh, as teams, vertical and horizontal, working together. That's where we need to move to really take a look at what we've been doing and where we're going. The test scores don't give us the information that we need. It just makes schools look bad. In some cases, I don't mean that to be negative, because I'm an optimist. I'm just being a realist right now, adjusting the sails as we're traveling down this river of our life.
Absolutely. Coleman, take that leadership question and go.
So when I'm looking for a leader in the district, whether it's a kid or a teacher or someone I'm going to hire, I'm truly looking for that engaged participant. And so I'm wanting a person that can take an idea, think about it, learn from it, try it, maybe fail at it a few times, but the ones that stand out in interviews, the ones that stand out running schools, the kids that stand out in the classroom, it's the same thing. It's am I in it, and do I want it? And so that participatory role, all of us have been administrators. We've hired a lot of people, but that one that steps in that first day, sits down with you as the fellow leader, as the colleague, as the co-partner, and says, what do we need to do here? And all of a sudden they try it that first day. You've got someone that's solid gold. And so, because that's going to model it for a kid, and then it's going to model it for a teacher. And it might be that teacher that'll step in and fill in for a sub that day. But, that lesson's going to be strong. And the teachers down the hallway saw a fantastic lesson as well. So that active participant means everything to me.
Thanks. Dot.
When I was in the building, I truly believed in training everyone and building leaders in the building. Everyone, including the custodian. I was out. I had major surgery, and I was out for 3 months. You wouldn't have known I was out, because my building was running like it should, because they knew the expectations. Everybody held their own weight. And it was really funny because it wasn't any discipline issues, because the teachers were handling everything. And I said, well, wait a minute, why couldn't you do this when I was here? Because if you could do it when I was gone, why aren't you doing it now? Because, it was somebody there, go to the principal, but they held their own weight. We were like a family. I believe in building. We were like a family. Right. I went to births. I went to divorce court with them. I supported them and they supported me. And I had an awesome staff. Awesome. But I truly believe in building leaders. And like you said, Rita, a lot of times my faculty meetings, I was there listening to them.
Yes.
They ran the faculty meetings.
Right.
They talked about the things and the issues and the content area they wanted to talk about. They run that. I sat back and listened to them, learning from them.
That's right.
So I learned that you don't have to do everything as a building principal. If you have leaders, you have support, and you don't have to worry about a lot of things. So I truly believe in building leaders. I truly, truly do that.
Yes. I love the way you said that. I'm going to throw in something we didn't talk about. I have a couple of other things that are maybe different, because I'm in the weird lane. I ride in the weird lane. I don't believe in the concept of buy-in. I don't think that. Now I'm hearing feedback for the first time. I don't think that most people buy into anything unless they see a purpose or a reason for a change. They don't just all of a sudden get on board and buy in. So that bothers me. Second thing that bothers me is the concept of failure. That every single day, there's never a day that I don't read somebody writing about the importance of teaching children how to fail. And fail forward. I don't believe in that. I believe that there's no such thing as failure, only feedback. So I have a couple of things. I have one more thing that makes a huge difference in leadership. when I was first getting started as a program evaluator, I went in to see my boss, and he said, "There's something I'm going to tell you that'll change your whole life." And I said, "What is that?" And he said, "They're not your teachers." Okay.
Mhm.
And at that time, I was going to all the prisons in California for
Mhm.
Title I. So that was different. I met Leslie Van Houten, et cetera. Most people don't know I had that background. In
Mhm.
any event, he was right. And that changed my whole life as a leader. And I've said it before, and I'm going to say it one more time. It is not my school. They're not my teachers. It is our school and
Mhm.
our teachers and our custodians and our shared leadership. And during my principalship, our principalship really, what worked is when we did something called teacher, principal, assistant, TPAC, we called it. And we had a custodian on there, we had a cook on there, we had a bus driver on there, we had teachers, they selected who they wanted, then they rotated through the year. By doing that and them taking turns running those meetings, it was the strongest thing I could have done for a school that needed to be turned around, and that's what we did. But we have to rethink these ingrained concepts that maybe are really not going to work as well while we're looking at the opportunity, challenging times, extraordinary opportunities. I believe that.
Mhm. Mhm.
Rita, you
I know
nailed
that's a
that.
little weird, but I had to throw it in because that's
No,
what
that I'm stealing that. It's not about failure; it's about feedback. Because
Yes.
Mhm.
it's our feedback that gets a kid across that threshold.
Yeah.
Watching them fail does nothing.
No.
So I love it.
Well, I flat out right. There's no such thing as failure, only feedback.
It's not. Yeah.
Again, that's my personal belief. After all these years, this is what I've seen, and you don't have to agree with me, people who are watching this at your leisure. But that's just how I feel. So I'm sharing that because it really helped us be
Mhm.
successful. Not me. It's not about me. It's about you. What can I do to help you today?
Every
Not what you're going
decision,
to do to make me happy.
every decision we make, every move we make is strategic and what's best for kids.
Yes.
If we
Yes.
keep that in the
Mhm.
back of our minds, we can take
Mhm.
all the noise out of the decision-making process
Yes.
and we'll do what's right.
Mhm.
So really simple to think about. Josh, we're inside the 2-minute drill right now, my friend. Coming up on 42 minutes.
And you
Who
know
was that?
what?
42.
42. Time has gone by quickly.
And so you know what,
I'm
guys?
doing good. My eyes are still open. I'm doing good.
So we thank you for being here, Todd. We thank Coleman, Rita, because there's been a lot of feedback. We've learned from each other. This is why this is such a valuable tool for everybody. Doesn't matter how many years of experience that you have. All these conversations, all this is free PD for you. And today on the Red Zone, Dean, I think we scored another touchdown. We scored another touchdown. It's 4-0. And we did great things today. And so thank you for joining us tonight. But don't forget about us this Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern on the Flag Show. We have author Brandon Beck on the Road to Awesome. Join us on Sunday, 7 p.m. Eastern, the flagship show, part of the Fantastic Four with Sheikah, with Coach Hurt, and Principal Cafele, ready to go stronger together. Thank you, Rita. Thank you, Dot. Thank you, Coleman. Dean, let's go home. Let's go to sleep now.
Let's go to sleep. It's late out here on the East Coast. Everybody, thank you so much. Again, everybody on the panel tonight, thank you so much for joining us. All you guys out there listening, have a great week in school. Remember,
Thank
every
you.
decision you make is based on the best interest of kids. Keep that in
That's
mind.
right.
You'll do great. There's no doubt about it. You all have a great week and continue to make a difference.